Hello, we are the API management squads of Area Integration. In about a year, we have launched a new, modern API management platform which replaces our legacy system. Are you interested to know when and how we did it? Let's get started.
Our old platform could not fulfill anymore industry standards, our vision, and as well our principles. Neither they could fulfill our security requirements. Due to that, we are looking for a new platform, a new vendor that could support us with our own vision, as well with our own requirements.
One of our visions for API management platforms is to self-service to the max. This means that we own and centrally manage the platform, which includes the gateways for both cloud and on-premise environments. However, the APIs are managed and owned by the 250 DevOps teams across the Rabobank. Therefore, we offer fully automated and self-service journeys for both the API providers and consumers.
Pong is the basis of our new API management platform. Yet all the Kong components are embedded in a larger constellation tied together through automation. With the introduction of Kong, the new API management platform, we've elevated the organization towards another maturity level. We do this through registering ownership, through enforcing full automation, through validating compliancy and quality, last but not least, through introducing isolated gateway per team.
A migration project of over 2,000 APIs from 250 different teams, moving them from the old platform to the new platform is certainly not an easy task. It has stretched the fabric of our organization about as far as it can go. Nonetheless, with full support of our management, frequent communication and support to all the teams involved, we are making this happen within a 6-month timeline.
This is only the beginning. We will be expanding our platform internationally and functionally. We are proud of our platform, the teams who have worked so hard to achieve it, and everybody else who has helped us get to this milestone in such a short amount of time. We are looking forward to watch the community reap the benefit of the platform and grow with it. Thank you for watching and see you next time.
It's an absolute pleasure to be joined here by the Rabobank API platform team. Maybe first, let's go through a quick round of introduction.
Sure. My name is Eduardo Cordeiro. I'm a product owner in the API management platform.
I'm Frank van Valkenburg. Happy to be here again after last year recording a video. I'm a business architect integration, overseeing everything that has to do with application integration in Rabobank.
Hello, I'm Shweta Tiwari. I'm a solution architect at Rabobank.
Great. Eduardo, Frank, Shweta, it's again a real pleasure to be chatting with you today. It's been, I think, if I remember, about a year and a half ago when we first met. And since then, you've all been very busy. A lot has happened. You gave us an update, Frank, last year at our summit about the development of the platform. And I know that since then, you've achieved quite a bit. There's been a lot of traction, great results. Can you walk us a little bit over some of those results?
Oh yeah, definitely, Reza. So one of our mottos in the department that we're working in is to get happy engineers. So we have around 8,000 engineers working at Rabobank, and we want to make them happy because we believe that happy engineers achieve results. And I think with the shift to our new API management platform, we have, for a big part, already achieved that, making our engineers a lot happier because their journeys have become a lot easier. I think also what we achieved is we have way better registration of ownership of our APIs, which was actually not that good. Also really obstructing our migration. And talking about the migration, I think what we achieved, or still achieving actually, is we're migrating all of our around 2,000 APIs with a total load of 2.5 billion API calls, spread over around 250 teams owning those APIs. We're migrating them from the old platform to our new platform. We're full busy with that. And we are going to achieve that probably for the largest part in 6 months' time. And then finally, I think really proud of that as well, is we're taking along many of those teams into a higher maturity. especially introducing them to an automated way of working, introducing them to a CI/CD way of working, and that all to a new API management platform. So how cool is that?
It is absolutely amazing. And just a little bit of drill down on those results. You started really rolling this platform out in February, I believe. And from what I remember, you had this real quick rollout. Like you had a large number of teams come on board very quickly. Can you give us a little bit more color on how fast of an uptake? And I know you're still progressing, but within months, you were able to achieve quite a bit, weren't you?
Not sure how many things you had in the first.
Yeah, historically, what we had was around in February, we start a pilot phase. In this pilot phase, we start with around 80 to 100 teams.
Yeah.
And after this pilot phase, we really opened the availability to everyone, the general availability. And indeed, we grew quite fast in this sense, because every team received a different runtimes, non-prod and prod. So right now we achieve more than 250 teams in 6 months, with around 1,500 APIs in total. Also mentioned the numbers that Frank mentioned. We are 2 billion calls per month, so it really bring us a lot in a year basis. So yeah, in general, that was our journey from February to here.
And these numbers to me are just amazing, and not just to me. And you've been kind enough to let us talk about your success. When I talk about your success to other folks, other teams that are trying to do the same, they are just quite impressed how you've been able to do this and what has been achieved. So maybe my next question again for you, Frank, is how did you do it? That's the main question I get. How are you doing this?
I think this all starts with the way we organize our IT company, right? We're a bank, but I typically always call our company an IT company with a banking license. I think it has a lot to do with the way we structure our organization. So I'm a big fan of team topologies, which is I think a well-known book by Matthew Skelton and Manuel Pais, which talks a lot about team autonomy. And there, I think we are trying to organize our IT teams in that way, right? Creating autonomy in teams and making them end-to-end responsible for anything they do. So typically an application or a part of an application or multiple smaller applications. But of course, that is pretty difficult if a team has to do everything, especially if they also have to manage integration platforms, like an API management platform. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to reduce the cognitive load of teams by offering them self-service platforms, taking away some of their cognitive load. That's exactly what we've been doing also already with our previous API management platform, and we're taking on the next step with our Kong management platform, API management platform. So we're offering a self-service platform. So we are managing the platform for them. So there's no need for the teams to manage their own API gateways or their API management platform. But we make the teams responsible for the APIs that they run on those platforms. And that's actually really convenient for them. We try to make it like as easy as possible. We take away lots of the problems they have facing for compliance, for example, and adhering to standards. So that makes the platform like really convenient for them to use without having to know lots of the technology under the hood. So I think that's how we succeed in making and getting so much traction on our platform. Also because our teams are really offering a premium service there. So really offering a lot of support and help in onboarding on the platform without actually taking ownership of the APIs on the platform. Those always remain the responsibility of the teams owning them. And that model has proved really successful for us.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's just all the values that we've been talking about at work with the real results. Automation, autonomous teams, self-service platform, removing all the friction and leading to these happy developers. It's great to hear it, with real examples, real results. That's what's so great about it. And speaking of results, we've spoken about APIs, a number of APIs, a number of teams, over 250 teams. Eduardo, maybe help us understand how that translates into business results for Rabobank.
Absolutely, Reza. So from business perspective, of course, we would like to be more also cost efficient. We want to empower teams to do more in less time. We would like to empower autonomy, as well automation. But I think a big topic for us is standard services. So we really believe that over the years, Rabobank also has a history, of course, and we were distributed in different domains. Now we are in tribes, and we are standardizing the services that we offer to the organization. An API platform is part of this journey. Now we are the enterprise de facto standard platform. So that's with that, we also believe a lot on the self-service way of working. So we want to what Frank mentioned, that the teams are accountable and responsible for their own APIs. This also means that we need to offer them a way to do that. So we offer to them provider and consumer journeys that we build in-house, let's say, through automation, where Kong is a backend, is just the gateway executing the runtime. But around Kong, we have a lot automated to our community. What we learned also recently with the pilot as well, with the onboarding, even if you consider these quite mature journeys already, there is a lot to improve and make better, also make even more automated in the level of troubleshootings and so on. So that's where we really can have also financially speaking reflect back, because the deployment now, once the team is onboarded on our platform, the deployment can be quite faster. I tend to say 10 times faster, but of course depends on teams. We work near to mainframes as well, near to the cloud. So depending on the team, the cognitive load is lower or bigger. But we also change the culture of the organization. Once we start putting standard services, also the culture is impacted, because we are empowering everyone to use the same way of working. So this is also very much powerful, because we also empower the development community to talk more each other, how to retrieve a token, how to make things better. Not talk about security, of course, because security is a big topic for us. Of course, we are. So security now is also standardized on gateway level. To not talk about the governance. Governance also key for us, because once in our old platform, we did not have control over the API deployment. So there is no quality there. So the topic that Frank mentioned on quality is also true governance. So our pipelines, they run, we offer to the community certain guardrails to protect what can be and what cannot be exposed. As well, we do some validation in the open API specs. That's the level of governance that we can have now. As well, teams, the funny thing is, we thought we would like to be secure, but the teams themselves, they also, they are even more than us in certain sense. So we can really have very good conversations in this sense. Well, of course, agile way of working is there. So it's also empower teams to be more agile themselves, because they can deploy in seconds a change. There is also the risk of deploying in seconds, of course, because they need to be conscious of what they are doing. And I think it's also good to mention that what we did was also a lot of communication and training and teaching this way of working to create a new behavior in the organization. So internally, what we did over the last months, we had a 6 months journey of migration. We end of September. We also promote hackathon is a generic word, but we promote what we called express lanes, that were short events, a couple of days, a week, where we just sit there and we, even if the journey is supposed to be self-service, we sit with this community to support them in reduce the cognitive load. So that's a little bit from the business perspective, the amount of things that we see happening around us.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, to me, there's a couple of things that stands out. One is you saying that the developers themselves wanted to think security more, or perhaps even first. I remember thinking of security to computer science or developers as what statistics is to math, right? Like I hated doing statistics when I was going to college, but I like math. And it's amazing to see like people love actually wanting to do this. And it's really important for, every API is a gateway to the organization. So that the security is critical. And then 10x, roughly 10x speed, it's just great to hear. It's fantastic. Let me approach a topic that, it's kind of the nirvana of having a platform in some ways, is to make every single API be like a building block that can be reused, kind of like Lego box, right? Like you go to your Lego box and every single API is kind of an infinitely reusable Lego box, right? So that is something I think a lot of us want to achieve. We want to help our customers achieve. Shweta, how much has this happened? How much are you seeing reuse and multiple consumers from multiple different teams using the same APIs?
I first of all, I like the analogy that you put in about the Lego blocks. I really love it. That is something which we saw previously as well. So as Edu mentioned, we had an API management platform. So the ideology behind that was people were moving away from point-to-point connections. So they were trying to think that they need to create these Lego blocks which need to be connected together, right? So because we had an API management platform, the journey had already begun some time back, that we wanted to get rid of point-to-point connections. We wanted to empower and enlighten people about how can they move away from that, more in the API world, more in the Lego world, as you stated. So we had already seen that shift happening from our old platform. So that worked really well in our case. We do have a lot of APIs for which you have more than 30, 40, sometimes even 50 consumers which connect to that API. So that's really a good number. And you see that because of that change. But saying that, but that being said, it still says that from our old platform to the new platform, we have provided some things so that this reusability can be enhanced even more. I'll state some examples. For example, when you do reusability, you need to discover something, right? That's your first step. First, you should know if there's something, and then you can reuse it for the consumers. So we have made discoverability easier. Previously, the discoverability was tried with our old developer portal, which took ages to load, which was only tied to our old API management platform. So then it was a business analyst couldn't go and just search for something, right? And that's where we once had a hackathon because of this pain point. And in that hackathon, we had a Rabobank integration catalog. That's something that we made. And the catalog is supposed to seamlessly give you that information. So that discoverability is easier, not only for platform users, but for anyone, a product owner, a scrum master, anyone who wants to look for this. So discoverability is something which we improved from the old platform to the new platform that enhances reusability. Apart from that, good documentation. This was something which we were missing in our old platform. And that's something which is a key for our deployment process right now. So you need good documentation, which is in our open API specification. So that's required. So you, as a consumer, when you look at something, you already see and already read a lot about it. So that's something which we also enhanced from our old platform. And last but not the least is ownership. I think Frank mentioned it. Previously, even if you find something, who do I contact for this, right? Do I contact Reza? Do I contact Edu? I have no idea about that. So that has been changed because now the ownership is clear. The subscription of an API is clear. So that when that information is clear, reusability, you put that seed of reusability, right? And from there, the tree grows, basically. So yeah, so we do see reusability, but we're hoping for inculcating this more with a new way of working.
And in a sense, that's a cultural change as well, huh?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, the cultural change about doing all this stuff, right? Now, let me ask a follow-up question on that. First of all, I just want to say I was super impressed when I saw the demo of your what you call integration catalog, which is really a portal in some ways. But what's great about it is the simplicity of it in my mind, right? Which is so powerful. It's kind of like a Google search. You're doing a Google search and you see all the APIs appear in kind of the same way as a Google search results. Brilliant, just big fan.
And may I say, Reza, not just APIs, also our other integration platforms. It shows the events on our Kafka platform. It shows APIs which are on other platforms. So it's a really great platform indeed.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I saw that. You have the async API tag that shows up, right? Very cool. Now, you said discoverability, and then you also said good documentation, right? And I've heard this so much. It's an API is as good as its docs, and it's inherently makes sense. But how do you make sure that the API docs are good, right? Like we have 1,000+ APIs. How do you make sure that they're good quality?
Yeah, indeed. And that's a very good question, because that is one of our challenges right now. So we have not, I would not say that we have solved the problem completely, but we have begun with at least inculcating that habit that you need documentation. Why do you need documentation? Why do you need to provide some documentation? So we are right now in that phase where we are improving that, at least by telling people you need it. We previously did not have it because our deployments was a click deployment, so you necessarily did not need an open API specification. So that's where we are right now in our journey. But I can share a few plans. For example, on the integration catalog, we want to have ratings. We want to have scores based on your documentation. So how good your documentation is, if you have only one-liner documentation, how explicit is it? How do people vote on your documentation? So those are some things which we want to explore, but we are not there yet.
I think it's something to add here, Reza. It's about the community, because that's also a very important topic for us, where we would like to empower the community also to react on these kind of situations. So it's the community that's taking ownership. So we are a platform at the end, right? So it's not only our responsibility to dive there, but what we are trying to build is really a community of developers, of API developers around us. And that's where things start happening, because it will be the community itself that will feedback, will eventually rate the API, it will use more, also discover and reuse. So the community play a very important role in this, because more active this community is, also more we see this quality growing. Yeah. So that's, just would like to highlight this one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Makes so much sense. It's not different than living in a small town or a city, right? It's if you can, as a municipal government, do so much to make sure that the city is clean, but if the culture is not there and the community is not participating to make sure that the place is clean, it's not going to be clean. So yeah, that makes so much sense. So all right, this is great. Let's talk about the platform itself. I know that what we called runtime groups, what is going to change into the name control planes, has played a big role into what you've delivered here with Connect, with Con Connect and Con Gateways. But it has been a sort of ecosystem of tools you've used to build this platform, right? Can you help us perhaps understand more what the actual componentry of that platform has been?
Yeah, sure. I could take that question. So yeah, as you mentioned, we have the control plane and the data plane. Those are the two major factors for us, which is very important for us. And we have teams which get dedicated gateways. So the teams which get onboarded on our platform, and then they have their own gateways, they have their own runtime groups, and they can deploy on the runtime groups. That's what happens, right? So that's the goal that we want to achieve, that the teams have this, we call it a dedicated gateway per team, and they use this. That's our goal. But to reach that goal, as you mentioned a lot from Eduardo and from Frank, we believe in self-service way of working. And for the self-service way of working, we needed to have the user journeys. So we needed to answer the question about how can I, as a platform team, make sure that my users don't have to contact me straight from onboarding to deployment to subscription in the whole life cycle. So that was our first question, and we plotted that very beautifully in a user journey. So that was, we became the user and we plotted what all they needed to do, and we automated it all. So that was why we referred the self-service way of working and the automated way of working. And to do everything around it, so as I mentioned, your journey starts with onboarding, which is an automation, fully self-service. A team can just go there. We do some authorization checks. The team, once they are onboarded, they get a gateway, which is spin up for them, also automated. The subscription management that we have, we use an external IDP, which is the Rabobank IDP that we use. we are not dependent on Kong in this picture, for example. So we wanted that subscription management to also be a separate entity from our gateway. So we wanted to have these, as you said, Lego puzzles, or I can say a jigsaw puzzle, separate entities which are using each other, which are dependent on each other, but which could be changed later on, right, with something. That was the idea that we moved away around with. We had the Rabobank integration catalog for discoverability, of course. So that was one important factor. So all these things were automated for the self-service way of working. But we also want happy engineers, not only for our users, but also for our own area. So how do we make ourselves happy engineers? And that is by enforcing standards and guardrails. So that's where we have guardrails that we set up for our own platform. So we say that, okay, you are using our platform, these are some standards, and we are going to enforce some standards, because we had tried using Confluence pages and writing best practices, but that does not work because someone reads it, someone does not read it. So we were very sure with the new platform that we wanted the guardrails and we wanted to enforce the guardrails. And to do that, we've used our home built tool, we call it the validator, and it is used for validation of your open API specification. And it is also it also has some rules which you can use, etc. So we have a very fully, nicely written validator. It is based on Spectral. And then last but not the least, the major action hero of this thing is the extensions, which really ties it together. So extensions is our internal component, and it is used. It is the one which we use for deploying the API. So we use deck. I love deck, by the way, declarative config on the go. So we have extensions which uses deck for deploying your API. It also validates your API, that you thus enforcing the standards and guardrails. And then last but not the least, publishes it on the catalog. So that extension is basically the puzzle which combines everything together and all our automations together, basically. So these are the components that we work with. And extensions, just to add here, is something that the developers can use in their normal way of working. They don't need to learn it because it's something they can use in their CI/CD pipelines, and they just do a deployment like they do deployment of their applications. So you just use it in your pipeline, and there you go. You have your open API specification. Everything is done for you. So,
and the beauty of this is that it's completely extendable, right?
Yeah.
So Shweta was talking about our own IDP. We have plans to add multiple IDPs at some point in time. We could even add other type of integration platforms into this whole model, where we're enforcing the standards. We're probably also going to increase the number of standards. So it's an extensible model.
Yeah.
And we love it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. This is what we started drawing out as API ops about 3 years ago, and this was a loose set of processes and practices. And what you're describing is just music to my ear, because it's API ops at its best. And I think you said Frank last year that you and Kong believe in the principle of automating the heck out of everything, and you've definitely seen.
I phrased it a bit differently. Yeah. I want to say there as well that because of this model, we needed quite some specific requirements from you guys, from Kong, in order to accommodate this. Not everything that we needed to make the connect and the deck and the gateways and the runtimes fit in his model, fitted from the get-go. So all thanks to you guys for being willing to accommodate our requirements there. Absolutely. And we're still on a journey. We're still not there.
It is, yes. So that brings me to my next question. Actually, a great segue for the last question here. Perhaps to you, Eduardo, which is, you've achieved so much in such a short period of time. What is next? What are the big mountains that you want to target next?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Reza. So first of all, we are position ourselves as the new standard service, but we are not there yet. We still have in-house other API platforms to be decommissioned. So we are closing the big migration now at the end of this month of September 23, but now we have more platforms. So the first step will be guaranteed that we also be the standard service. That's probably some time for us, still some quarters to come, let's say. So besides that, we also bringing together with, so the scope of APIs that we manage at this moment are mostly internal APIs, where we connect our internal systems as well as some Rabobank partners. But we don't really manage yet the commercial APIs, and that's our target, also to become the standard platform also for the commercial APIs, where things become also more complex, and the migration itself also be more time expensive, of course. Besides that, we also moving international. So of course we are a bank in the Netherlands. We are supporting here. We also already certain APIs are available to the Rabobank locations across the globe, but common gateways also be available across the globe, at least South America, North America, and in certain areas of Pacific. And at the end, also working with the feedback flow with our providers and consumers. We want to make our journey better. So for them, of course, but also for us. So this is where there is a big topic in the market, of course, artificial intelligence. So we also would like to go a little bit in this direction for ourselves. So be more active on proactive actions using artificial intelligence. So one is anomaly detection, where we can anticipate failures based on the log analysis. As well, when we talk about documentation, we really would like to go in the GPT kind of format, where we can be more easy to our community to find answers, not really read, but through documentation. We can also use bot experience to troubleshooting. So we as engineers, we can be less in the support line and be more on the view the new features. So this is all about also our values and our principles. So standard services, happy engineers, automation, and so on.
And it also really ties nicely in with the cognitive load, right? We can use this to even reduce the cognitive load for our engineers further than we already have, and make the platform even more compelling for them than it currently already is.
Yeah, and last but not least, Reza, is the community. So we really see ourselves positioned as the ones that can create this API community, and creating the community, things will also come from there. So we really believe and we position ourselves as the promoters of this community in order to grow. So that's also a big topic, not only now, but for the future.
Yeah, and the growth in the community was extensive, right? In the last 1 year, we have grown so much. So it's commendable.
Makes so much sense. Eduardo, Frank, Shweta, it's as always, absolute pleasure talking to you. I just love watching the success of the team, but also your developers and your community, and look forward to working with you in partnership and see your continued success. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Reza.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and hopefully you enjoyed this nice view of the city we wanted you guys to see.
And a lovely summit to everyone.
Yes.
Love Amsterdam.
Lovely.
Yes, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Bye.